I'm going into this game completely neutral. Completely neutral. Hey guys, Neomis here. Now it's time to talk about the Palace game. Palace game is on Monday, and even though it might be a little bit early to talk about it, lots of games are going to be happening this weekend. That's going to be affecting our position in the league. And I thought now is the time to start to look at Crystal Palace and the threat that they are. And I know some of you might think that it's Crystal Palace, that we should be able to walk over them. And I agree that Crystal Palace as a brand, the Arsenal, yes, clearly bigger. We should be able to dominate. But this Arsenal now, where we are, how we finished in the last couple of seasons, I just don't know that. And the reason why I say that is because they have one thing that I've really liked about them. I've looked at Crystal Palace as my second team this season, a team that, follow the traditions of Arsene Wenger with the Wenger ideology, with developing young players, bringing young players in with good tactics that allows them to be able to express themselves while still maintaining a solid base. Their manager, Patrick Viera, has brought that to life. And therein lies the problem for Mikel Arteta. Plus the fact that Patrick Vieira is an Arsenal legend. I'm telling you this right now. I'm going into this game completely neutral. Completely neutral. This is why even my prediction for the game, spoiler alert, I'm going for a draw, 1-1, because I definitely think that the way how Palace plays is a bona fide threat. And I think that Arsenal should be very worried. And I hope Mikel Arteta has a plan. He's had long enough to be able to do so. Yes, you've had the likes of Aubameyang, who have been out with Gabon in international football. You've had Thomas Partey away at international football. Emil Smith-Rowe and Saka, who I've done videos on the channel talking about them recently, particularly Saka scoring another goal for England. So we have had quite a few players that have been away in international football. But nevertheless, that still doesn't get away from what Arsenal need to do. Arsenal still have to come out there and win this game. But first of all, let's look at Crystal Palace. Now, in their last game, they faced Leicester, who we also have in a few weeks' time. I think it's 30th of October, so a couple weeks' time coming up. They finished that game 2-2. Got it right here. So, Sky Sports titled it as Patrick Vieira's super subs inspire Palace to Premier League comeback. And you gotta say, it was definitely a comeback, because Leicester went up, like in the first half, 31st and 37th minute, Iheanacho, Jamie Vardy goals for 2-0. But you're talking about a side that never gives up, kept on going, kept on trying to break through. Michael Elise, their new winger who they got from the Championship from Reading, who I thought that I talked about in the summer for Arsenal as being the type of player that Arsenal could potentially look at. Someone that has lots and lots of room to develop. Someone who is English. Arsenal could be able to kind of almost be a backup. I know the reason why I would have said that maybe he shouldn't get much of an opportunity is because of Reiss Nelson, because I thought that Reiss Nelson should get ahead of him and get more of a chance than him. But this was before he went on loan to Feyenoord. But Michael Elise, being one of the Championship's top creators last season, I think he was third on that list. So he's come to the Premier League and he's doing that. And not only is he doing that, but he's scoring goals. And then we got Jeffrey Schlupp, who scored in the game against Leicester. But I mean, we know Schlupp from that Leicester side, that Premier League winning Leicester side. I think we were 2016 now overall. So yeah, just good solid players. They play a 4-3-3, but can sometimes go into a 3 depending on how the game goes, because of a man by the name of Joachim Andersen, who can also play in the defensive midfield. He previously played for Sampdoria with Lucas Torreira in that midfield, which is kind of interesting. And he's also a player that we also looked at as well a couple of years ago, but nothing ever really came from it. But still, solid player. At right back, they've got Joel Ward, who is one of the few senior players that decided to stay. And then Mark, I can't pronounce his name, but I'm going to give it a try. But Mark Guhi from Chelsea through their academy. And then Tyreek Mitchell, who's come through the Crystal Palace academy as well. Conor Gallagher on loan from Chelsea. I talked about him last season as being a solid player. Yes, could I see him at a place like Arsenal? True, but I put him in the same category as someone like a Joe Willock, someone who that yeah is good, yes, talented, lots of potential there, but is he enough for what Arsenal would need right now? No. Just like he's a hard worker, tracks back, works hard, runs the channels, does everything you want in a player to do. But for me, I don't think that lacks the true kind of technical quality that's needed in a player to be at Arsenal. But still, very good, solid player. Um, they had Milivojevic, James MacArthur, Jordan Ayew, Odsonne Edouard, who all Arsenal fans should be familiar with, the former Celtic striker, and Wilfried Zaha. That was their starting 11. So you got to say that it's a pretty solid starting 11. Got Zaha in there, new striker. Ayew was previously their striker. So, they've got a good amount of experience in there. And goals. Odsonne Edouard is probably due a goal. I personally think it will happen in the game against Arsenal. And probably something to show the Arsenal board, hey, maybe, just maybe, that Arsenal should have gone in and purchased him. And I remember a couple of years ago, lots of people were saying that we should just get him. 20-25 mil, go and pick him up. And then value start to rise. But he's coming to the Premier League and it started pretty well. But I got to say, when we're going up against that starting 11, Odsonne Edouard, Zaha are probably the ones to watch out with. I'm very concerned about the runs that Conor Gallagher makes, those late runs from midfield, or like right side midfield into the box. He isn't great at shooting, but he does manage to get into the box quite a bit, which can be very worrying. Milivojevic isn't really going anywhere in that midfield. He's your kind of DM, and MacArthur as a central midfield. Like, he's not really going to be there as well. He's just going to be there to, put some steel in that midfield and do whatever is needed. Yaucham Anderson, I think, as Conor Gallagher goes forward, he'll probably step up from centre back and come into midfield and then force Palace to play with a three at the back with three central midfield players, and then almost four players up front, with probably Odsonne Edouard moving further forward, or maybe Zaha moving forward, or Ayew moving forward. And that's the flexibility that they have with the way how they play, which is, it's a nice way to play, because then you don't know who to really mark. You're gonna have the wide players in Zaha and Ayew dragging Tierney and Tomiyasu out of position all the time, because they don't know whether they should stick or whether they should let them and then let the centre backs go through. So I mean, they're potentially going to cause our centre backs problems. Ben White, again, I worry about him in that defence. In terms of defensively, for Arsenal, like in terms of creating chances and setting the play, I have no doubt that I think that someone like Ben White will do a good job there. Now, and looking back where Arsenal's starting 11 was against Brighton, I mean, we played obviously with Aaron Ramsdale, because we all know that Leno looks like he's going in the summer. Tomiyasu, Tierney, I obviously talk about, and Ben White. Next to him, I figure will probably be Gabriel. Thomas Partey's back from international football. I'm not sure when I'm not sure if he's ready to play 90 minutes worth of football. But um, yeah, I think he'll start. I think he'll start. Like he might not play 90 minutes, but I do see him starting along with Sambi in that midfield. Sambi, I believe, has now got promoted to the senior squad for Belgium, but I haven't seen anything. I'm not sure if he played. If Thomas Partey doesn't start, then I think they will go with El Nene in that midfield, just to add some defensive reassurances. And we know the simple things El Nene does really well, in my opinion. Then we're talking about the kind of front four now. So Martin Odegaard, he's Arteta's boy wonder, so he's gonna play almost no matter what, unless he's injured. Smith Rowe played international football in the week. I believe scored a goal and played really well from what all the reports are saying. So I expect him to start. And the same thing here goes with Saka. And Saka played but didn't play much of the second game. So he should be ready to kind of start and play 90 minutes worth of football, in my opinion. And then you got Aubameyang, who was also away at international break with Gabon. Not sure again, like Thomas Partey when he came back, but I expect him to have some type of play. And if he doesn't, let's look at the bench. We still have Lacazette, who lots of stories talking about him. And then we still got our boy Gabriel Martinelli, who I have repeatedly talked about on this channel that should be getting a lot more game time. So there's potential opportunity for him. And even if he doesn't start, whether it being as a striker up front or even out wide, I expect Gabriel Martinelli to get regular minutes. And this easily is the game for that. Smith Rowe's been on international football. Saka's been on international football. Like, there's no way I see them both playing 90 minutes worth of football. No way. Whichever one starts to tire out first. And I would say that when you look at the fact that Joel Ward is there on the Palace right side, Martinelli's perfect for the left. Perfect for the left. Get past Joel Ward, get in the box, maybe go down, get a penalty. Like, perfect for that. Tyreek Mitchell, I think, is a bit more of a solid right back. Decent going forward, but for me, I think his strength is he's solid defensively. So Saka, in my opinion, definitely has his work cut out for him on that right side overall. But if not, I mean, maybe even someone like a Pepe could be an option there on the right or the left. But I figured that there will be no changes to the Arsenal starting 11 from the one that went up against Brighton, almost a couple of weeks ago now. I expect it to be the same. I just expect that everybody should be fresher. And if there are injuries or a bit of tired legs, then I think Arsenal have enough on the bench and the players there that aren't even making the bench to be able to make changes in and around that. So I'll leave it at there in terms of that. But I'm going to stick with my prediction in that I think it'll be a 1-1 draw. I just think that Patrick Viera being in charge, Patrick Viera having more experience, knowing the Wenger way, and really adopting that. I mean, Steve Parish and Viera have done, I think, a very good job at what they've done to Crystal Palace in the short term. What they're trying to do is kind of rebuild, and I think Patrick is done very well with that. I don't see them getting relegated or any nonsense like that. I think they've bought well, and who knows, they'll probably end up bringing maybe a player or two in January in the summer on loans for the season. But for this game against Palace, we've got to watch out. We've got to watch out. Arteta, you got to get your tactics right. If you don't get your tactics right, then I don't see. I really don't see. Arsenal are still in the same position where we're struggling to score goals from open play. The game against Brighton, I know everybody was kind of disappointed that we didn't win the game, but you could say that the North London derby that we had against Spurs, that was almost like a one-off, because what we saw against Brighton was that, like, You know, you had a Brighton side that, for me, I thought played well. Like, you know, let's give them some credit. They played very well, solid defensively. They restricted Arsenal, but just not enough. And I think that the decision making on certain players, substitutes, should have come on, could have brought in something a bit extra. So, like I said before, like I'm going to say now, it all comes down to the manager's tactics. How is he going to execute it? But probably what I think it's really going to come down to is substitutes. Is he going to get the substitutes right? Because at some point you will need them. And I think that Palace, they've shown against Leicester, who I think are a tough side, even though Leicester haven't been that great this season, that you cannot discount Palace. Cannot. They were 2-0 down from the 35th minute and managed to come back and win 2-2. Oh, sorry, draw 2-2. Arsenal don't have a habit of doing that. Arsenal are struggling to score goals. So I don't want to see Arsenal be in that position whereby they're having to hunt to come back. I'd rather Arsenal go off and start it with a goal. Maybe we could get lucky with like a penalty or something like that. I think that will kind of put us first. But in my opinion, I think if whoever scores first will win the game. Yeah. I think if Arsenal score, I don't think that they'll win it, but I think Palace will come back and make it even. But if Palace score first, I'm not sure with the way how we play with Aubameyang. I know he's scoring goals now, but we're not. This system is not set up to feed him properly, and he needs to be fed. I'd like to see Lacazette get much more of a chance, because I think that that's a better fit. Even though Lacazette he's not going to be the long-term like option, and the long-term option isn't here. And I know there have been lots of videos talking about that, and my last video talking about kind of strikers and what that could look like. But nevertheless, Arsenal have enough to kind of theoretically win. I just don't think that they will. But Arteta continue to prove me wrong. Finish above 8th this season, because I don't think that Arsenal will. But I'd like to be proved wrong, Arteta. But I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Leave your comments below on what you think of the game is going to be. What do you think about Palace and everything that I've said about Crystal Palace? We cannot sleep on Crystal Palace. I need to stress this. Palace are no mugs. Be on the shot. Like, even when Roy Hodgson was there, they were no mugs. Solid defensively. They were annoying. They were like Brighton. Now this is a team who have found their flair, and I hope it means it's an open game. If it's an open game, it's going to be very entertaining. But yeah, let's see what happens. But guys, thank you once again for watching the video. Please do remember to leave your comments below. It does help the channel out, and do check out some of my other content. And I'll see you all on my next video, which there is a link in the description below.